The mountains were quiet that night. Park Tae-ho sat alone in the control room of the observatory, his eyes fixed on the glowing screens in front of him. Outside, snow fell gently on the peaks, but inside, the only sounds were the soft hum of machines and the clicking of his keyboard. Tae-ho was 32 years old. He had worked at this observatory for 6 years, listening to the stars. Most nights were the same. He would scan the sky, record data, and find nothing special. But he loved his job. He believed that somewhere out there, in the endless darkness of space, someone was waiting to be found. His colleagues had gone home hours ago. They called him crazy for staying so late, but Tae-ho did not mind. The night was when the universe spoke the clearest. He was about to make himself another cup of coffee when his computer made a strange sound. It was not the usual beep of normal signals. This was different, louder, more urgent. Tae-ho put down his cup and moved closer to the screen. His heart began to beat faster. The signal was coming from a part of space that was supposed to be empty. No stars, no planets, just darkness. But something was there. Something was sending a message. He ran the signal through the translation program. The computer worked for several minutes, trying to find patterns in the noise. Tae-ho waited, his hands shaking slightly. In all his years of searching, he had never seen anything like this. Finally, the screen displayed words. Korean words? Clear and simple. Do not respond. Do not invite. Silence is survival. Tae-ho read the message 5 times. His mind raced with questions. Who sent this? Why Korean? How did they know Earth's languages? He picked up his phone and called his supervisor, Dr. Beek. The older man answered with a sleepy voice. Dr. Beek, I found something, Tae-ho said quickly. A signal. It contains a message. A message. Dr. Beek sounded doubtful. What kind of message? A warning. It says not to respond. It says, silence is survival. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Tae-ho, it is probably interference. Maybe a satellite bouncing signals around. Do not get too excited. This is not interference, Tae-ho insisted. The translation is perfect. Someone sent this on purpose. Dr. Beek sighed. Save the data. We will look at it tomorrow. Get some sleep. The line went dead. Tae-ho stared at his phone, frustration building in his chest. They did not believe him. They never believed him. He turned back to the screen and looked at the message again. Do not respond. Do not invite. Silence is survival. The words felt heavy. They felt like a threat. But Tae-ho was not the kind of man who listened to threats. All his life, people had told him to be quiet. His father told him to stop dreaming about space and get a real job. His professors told him that searching for alien life was a waste of time. His colleagues told him to stop working so hard, but Tae-ho had never listened. He believed that the universe was too big for humans to be alone. He believed that first contact would happen someday, and he wanted to be the one to make it happen. This was his chance. He sat down at his keyboard and began typing. His fingers moved quickly, creating a simple mathematical sequence. Prime numbers. The universal language of intelligence: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. 13, 17, 19, 23 to 9. He added a second line. The numbers of hydrogen and carbon, the building blocks of life. His finger hovered over the send button. For a moment, doubt crept into his mind. What if the warning was real? What if responding brought danger? But then he thought about all the years he had spent searching, all the lonely nights, all the empty signals. He could not let fear stop him now. He pressed the button. The message flew into space at the speed of light, carrying humanity's greeting to whatever waited in the darkness. For several minutes, nothing happened. Tae-ho watched the screen, barely breathing. Then, suddenly, the original signal stopped. The source went completely silent. Tae-ho frowned. Had they received his message? Were they angry? Were they happy? He did not have to wait long for an answer. A new reading appeared on his monitor. Something was moving through space. Something big. And it was coming toward Earth at a speed that should have been impossible. Taeho's hands went cold. He ran the calculations 3 times, hoping he had made a mistake. But the numbers were clear. The object would reach Earth in less than 48 hours. He grabbed his phone and called Dr. Beak again. "Sir, you need to come to the observatory now," Taeho said, his voice shaking. "Something is coming." The next morning, the control room was full of people. Government officials, military officers, and scientists crowded around the screens, arguing and shouting. The news of the approaching object had spread quickly. Now everyone wanted answers. Dr. Beak pulled Taeho aside, his face pale with worry. "Did you respond to the signal?" he asked quietly. Taeho nodded. "Yes. Why?" "The message told you not to." "Because I wanted to know who sent it," Taeho replied. "Because I believed that contact was better than silence." Dr. Beak closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "You may have just changed human history, Taeho. I hope you are ready for what comes next." Taeho did not answer. He was not sure he was ready. But he knew one thing for certain. Whatever was coming, he would face it. He had made his choice, and he would not run from the consequences. The hours passed slowly. The object grew closer. Scientists around the world tracked its path, unable to explain how it moved so fast. News channels showed images of the night sky, circles drawn around the empty space, where something invisible was racing toward them. Governments prepared for the worst. Military forces went on high alert. People filled churches and temples, praying for protection. The world held its breath, but Taeho stayed at his station. Watching the screens, waiting, he had spent his whole life looking for proof that humans were not alone. Now that proof was coming, and he was terrified. But beneath the fear, there was something else. Excitement. Wonder. The universe had answered. And Park Taeho was the one who had asked the question as the sun set on the second day. The object entered Earth's atmosphere, but it did not crash. It did not burn. It simply slowed down and descended gently, invisible to every camera and radar except Taeho's equipment. It was heading straight for his observatory. Taeho stood up from his chair, his legs weak. The others in the room had not noticed yet. They were too busy arguing about what to do next. He walked to the window and looked out at the dark mountains. Somewhere out there, something was coming for him, and he had no idea what it wanted. The government men came before midnight. They wore black suits and carried serious faces. They asked Taeho many questions in a small room with no windows. They wanted to know everything about the signal, the response, and the object that was now somewhere near the observatory. Taeho told them the truth. He had received a warning. He had ignored it. And now something was coming. The men looked at each other with worried eyes. One of them, a tall man with gray hair, leaned forward. "You understand that you may have endangered the entire planet," he said coldly. "I understand," Taeho replied. "But I also believe that staying silent would have been worse. Whoever sent that warning wanted us to be afraid. I chose not to be." The gray-haired man shook his head. "Your choice was not yours to make. You are a scientist, not a diplomat, not a soldier. You had no right to speak for all of humanity." Aho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Someone had to answer. The universe was calling, and I picked up the phone. The questioning went on for hours. When it finally ended, the men told Taeho that he was to stay at the observatory. He was not allowed to leave. He was not allowed to contact anyone. He was now a security risk. They gave him a small room near the main building. It had a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the mountains. 2 soldiers stood guard outside his door. Taeho lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. His body was tired, but his mind would not stop racing. What was the object that had come to Earth? Where had it landed? What did it want? He thought about his life. He had no wife, no children. His parents had died years ago. His only friends were his colleagues, and they probably hated him now for causing so much trouble. He had sacrificed everything for his dream of finding alien life, and now that dream had come true, and he was locked in a room like a prisoner. Sleep came slowly. When it finally took him, it was not peaceful. He dreamed of dark spaces and strange voices calling his name. Then he felt something. a weight on his bed, a presence in the room. His eyes opened. A figure sat at the edge of his mattress. In the dim light from the window, he could see that it was a woman, but not a human woman. Her skin was pale silver, smooth like polished metal. Her hair was long and white, flowing down her back like water. Her eyes were the strangest part. They had no pupils. They were completely filled with light, like two small stars trapped in her skull. She wore clothes that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. Sometimes they looked like silk. Sometimes they looked like smoke. Sometimes they seemed to disappear completely. Tejo sat up quickly, his heart pounding. He opened his mouth to call for the guards, but the woman raised one hand and his voice died in his throat. "Do not be afraid," she said. Her voice was like music. Not just one note, but many notes at once, layered on top of each other. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Who are you?" Tejo managed to whisper. "My name is Yuna," she replied. "I am Valari, and I have come because you answered." Tejo's mind struggled to understand. "Answered? You mean the signal?" "Yes." Yuna tilted her head, studying him with those glowing eyes. "The warning you received was from our enemies, the Keth. They send such messages to young worlds, telling them to stay silent. They want you to be afraid. They want you to hide." "Why?" "Because silent worlds are easy to harvest," Yuna said. Her voice became darker. "The Keth wait for centuries, letting civilizations grow while staying ignorant of the greater universe. Then, when the time is right, they come and take everything. Resources, technology, people." Tejo felt cold spread through his body. "And we were supposed to be one of those worlds." "Yes, but you broke the silence. You answered with curiosity instead of fear. And by doing so, you triggered an ancient law, the first contact bond." "What does that mean?" Yuna stood up. She was tall, taller than him, and she moved with a grace that no human could match. "It means that I am now bound to you, Park Tejo. Until you fully understand what your people have gained and what they now face, I cannot leave your side. You are my responsibility." Tejo shook his head. This was too much, too fast. "I did not ask for this. I just wanted to know if we were alone." "Now you have your answer," Yuna said. "You are not alone. You never were. The galaxy is full of life. Some of it is beautiful. Some of it is terrible. And now, because of you, Earth will learn the truth." There was a noise outside the door. Voices. The guards had heard something. Yuna turned toward the sound, then looked back at Tejo. "We do not have much time. The Keth will come soon. They do not forgive worlds that break the silence." "What can we do?" Tejo asked. "You can fight," Yuna said simply. "Your people are strange, Park Tejo. In my long life, I have seen many species receive the warning. Most obey. They stay quiet and pray that the Keth forget about them. But you responded within hours. You did not even hesitate. Was that wrong?" For the first time, something like a smile crossed Yuna's silver face. It was unexpected. "The Valari have watched humanity for a long time. We knew you were bold, but we did not know you were this bold." "Ass!" The door burst open. Soldiers rushed in with weapons raised. They shouted orders, their voices sharp with panic. But when they saw Yuna, they stopped. Their faces went pale. Their guns lowered. She was too beautiful, too impossible. They could not look away, but they could not move either. Yuna turned to Tejo. "Tell them not to be afraid. Tell them that I am here to help." Tejo stood up and faced the soldiers. His legs were shaking, but his voice was steady. "Lower your weapons," he said. "She is not our enemy." One of the soldiers, a young man with wide eyes, found his voice. What is she?" Tejo looked at Yuna, then back at the soldier. "She is the answer," he said. "The answer to a question humanity has been asking for thousands of years." The soldier swallowed hard. And what happens now?" Yuna stepped forward, her glowing eyes sweeping across the room.
Alice.
She said, "We prepare. The Keth are coming." and they will not show mercy. Outside, the first rays of dawn touched the mountains. A new day was beginning, but for Earth, nothing would ever be the same again. The next few days were chaos. News of Una spread quickly. Scientists came to study her. Government officials came to question her. Religious leaders called her a demon or an angel, depending on their beliefs. Through it all, Una stayed close to Tejo. She answered questions when she wanted to and ignored them when she did not. She seemed amused by the humans rushing around her, like a grown woman watching children play. Tejo found this frustrating. "You treat us like we are stupid," he said to her one evening. They were alone in a meeting room, waiting for yet another official to arrive. Una raised one silver eyebrow. "I do not think you are stupid." "Then why do you smile when we ask questions? Why do you look at us like we are entertaining?" Una was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "You are right. I apologize. It is difficult for me to remember how young your species is. The Volari have existed for millions of years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall across thousands of worlds. To us, humanity is like a child taking its first steps." "You're not children," Tejo said firmly. "No," Una agreed. "You are not. That is what makes you so interesting." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, soldiers patrolled the grounds. Helicopters flew overhead. The whole world was preparing for something it did not understand. "Most young species are cautious," Una continued. "They receive the Keth warning, and they become afraid. They build their civilizations quietly, hoping to avoid attention. But your people are different. You sent probes to other planets before you had clean water for everyone. You built weapons that could destroy your own world. You argue and fight among yourselves constantly, yet somehow you keep moving forward. Is that bad?" Tejo asked. "It is dangerous," Una said. "But it is also impressive. The Volari have never seen a species quite like yours." Tejo walked over to stand beside her. "Tell me more about the Volari. Tell me about this bond between us." Una turned to face him. In the fading sunlight, her silver skin seemed to glow. "The Volari are protectors," she said. "Long ago, we made a promise to help young species survive the dangers of the galaxy. When a world breaks the silence, we send an emissary to guide them. That is my role now. But why me? Why not someone important, like a president or a general?" "Because you were the one who answered," Una said simply. "The bond is not about power or rank. It is about courage. You heard the warning, and you chose to respond. That choice marked you." Tejo shook his head. "I am not courageous. I was just curious." "Curiosity and courage often walk together," Una replied. "Both require you to face the unknown." Before Tejo could respond, alarms began to ring throughout the building. Red lights flashed. People shouted and ran through the hallways. Una's expression changed. The warmth left her eyes, replaced by cold focus. "They are here," she said quietly. Tejo's stomach dropped. "The Keth. Yes, they have entered your solar system." They rushed to the main control room, where dozens of screens showed images from satellites and telescopes around the world. Tejo's breath caught in his throat when he saw what they displayed. Ships. Hundreds of them. They hung in space like dark shadows, blocking out the stars. Each one was massive, larger than any building on Earth. Their surfaces were black and twisted, covered in shapes that hurt to look at. A general stood in the center of the room, barking orders into a radio. When he saw Una, he turned to face her. "What are those things?" he demanded. "What do they want?" "They are Keth warships," Una answered calmly. "And they want this planet to be silent forever." The general's face went pale. "Can we fight them? Do we have any chance? Alone? No. Your weapons cannot penetrate their shields. Your ships cannot match their speed. If you fight them with what you have, you will lose." The room fell silent. Fear filled every face. Tejo felt it too, cold and heavy in his chest. But then anger replaced the fear. Anger at the Keth for coming to destroy his home. Anger at the universe for being so cruel. And anger at himself for feeling helpless. "What about with your help?" Taeho asked, stepping forward. You said the Valari protects young species, so protect us. Yuna looked at him with those glowing eyes. The bond between us gives me the right to share knowledge with you, technology, strategies, but I cannot fight for you. That is not how the bond works. Then teach us, Taeho said. Teach us everything we need to know. We will fight for ourselves. The general snorted. This is ridiculous. We cannot learn alien technology in a few days. Why not? Taeho challenged. Humans learned to fly in less than a century. We went from horses to spacecraft in a few generations. If you give us the tools, we will figure out how to use them. Yuna studied Taeho for a long moment. Something changed in her expression. Surprise, perhaps, or respect. You truly believe you can win, she said slowly. I believe we have to try, Taeho replied. Giving up is not something humans do well. Yuna was silent. The screens behind her showed the Keth fleet moving closer, their dark shapes growing larger with each passing minute. Then she nodded. Very well, Park Taeho. I will unlock the full bond between us. I will give you access to Valari knowledge. But be warned. What you learn will change you forever. There is no going back. Taeho did not hesitate. I am ready. Yuna stepped forward and placed her hand on his forehead. Her touch was cold, like touching ice. Then light exploded behind his eyes. He saw everything. Stars being born. Galaxies spinning in endless darkness. Civilizations rising and falling across billions of years. He saw the Valari, ancient and wise, watching over the universe. He saw the Keth, hungry and cruel, consuming everything in their path. And he saw humanity, small, young, fragile, but burning with a fire that no other species possessed. A stubborn refusal to accept defeat. A wild hope that refused to die. When the light faded, Taeho fell to his knees. His mind was full of new knowledge. Ship designs, weapon systems, shield frequencies. Everything he needed to fight the Keth. Yuna helped him stand. Your people are strange, she said again. But this time there was no amusement in her voice. Only wonder? You fear nothing you do not understand. You simply demand to understand it. Taeho looked at the screens. At the approaching enemy, then let us give them something to fear, he said, and for the first time. Yuna smiled with real emotion. She whispered, Let us begin. The Keth ships reached Earth on the third day. They positioned themselves above every major city on the planet, their massive shadows blocking out the sun. Millions of people looked up and saw only darkness. Then the message came. It played on every screen, every radio, every device capable of receiving a signal. A voice spoke, deep and cold, in every language at once. People of Earth, you were warned. You were told to remain silent. One among you chose to ignore our command. His name is Park Taeho. Deliver him to us, and your world will be spared. You will have 1,000 more years of peace before we return. Refuse, and every city beneath our ships will burn. The broadcast ended. Silence followed. Tae-Ho stood in the control room, surrounded by screens showing the chaos outside. People screamed and ran through the streets. Military forces moved into position, their weapons aimed at the sky. World leaders held emergency meetings trying to decide what to do. Many of them wanted to surrender Taeho. It is one man for billions, a European president argued in a video conference. The choice is obvious. We cannot negotiate with terrorists, an American general replied. If we give them what they want now, they will only ask for more later. They are not terrorists, a Chinese official said grimly. They are conquerors, and we cannot fight them. The arguments went on for hours. Taeho watched them, feeling sick. Part of him wanted to turn himself in. If his death could save the planet, maybe it was worth it. But Yuna stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder. Do not believe their lies, she said quietly. The Keth have no intention of keeping their promise. Every world that is surrendered to them has been destroyed eventually. They simply wait until the population forgets to be afraid. Then they come back and take everything. How do you know? Taeho asked. Because I have seen it happen 100 times. The Keith do not spare worlds. They only delay their meals. Teho closed his eyes. The knowledge Yuna had given him burned in his mind. He understood things now that no human had ever understood. He knew how the Keth ships worked. He knew their weaknesses. He knew that humanity had a chance, however small. But to fight, they needed to be united. And right now, the world was tearing itself apart. He opened his eyes and looked at the screens. Everywhere, people were afraid. Everywhere, governments were arguing. No one was working together. I need to speak to them, Teho said suddenly. Yuna tilted her head. To whom? Everyone. The whole world. They need to know the truth. He turned to the technicians in the room. Can you put me on every broadcast? Every channel? Every signal? A young woman with glasses looked up nervously. I think so. The Keth opened all the frequencies for their message. We could use the same channels. Do it. The general who had been commanding the room stepped forward. Wait, who gave you permission to speak for humanity? You are the reason we are in this mess. Teho faced him calmly. You are right. I caused this. And now I am going to fix it. The general opened his mouth to argue, but Yuna moved between them. The light in her eyes flared bright, and the general stepped back, fear crossing his face. Let him speak, Yuna said. Her voice carried weight, as if the universe itself was listening. This is his moment. The technicians worked quickly. Within minutes, Teho was standing in front of a camera, his face being broadcast to billions of people across the globe. He took a deep breath and began. My name is Park Teho. I am the one who answered the signal. I am the one the Keth want. He paused, gathering his thoughts. 3 days ago, I received a message from space. It told me to be silent. It told me that staying quiet was the only way to survive. And I chose to respond instead. The Keth want you to hate me for that choice. They want you to believe that silence would have kept you safe, but that is a lie. I have learned the truth about the Keth. They do not protect silent worlds. They harvest them. Every planet that follows their warning ends up destroyed. Not today, not tomorrow. But eventually, the Keth are patient. They wait for civilizations to grow fat and comfortable. Then they come and take everything. We're never going to be safe by staying quiet. We were only delaying our death. He looked directly into the camera, his eyes burning with conviction. But we have a chance now. We have an ally. We have knowledge. And most importantly, we have something the Keth have never faced before. We have humanity. I know we are divided. I know we argue and fight among ourselves, but I also know what we are capable of when we work together. We went to the moon. We built machines that think. We survived wars and plagues and disasters that should have ended us. The Keth look at us and see a primitive species. They think we will surrender because we are afraid, but they do not understand us. They do not know that humans fight hardest when everything seems lost. He clenched his fists. They told us to be silent because they were afraid of what would happen if we spoke. I spoke, and I will keep speaking. Humanity does not kneel. He pointed at the camera. Every person watching this, every soldier, every scientist, every ordinary citizen with the courage to stand up, I am asking you now, do not let fear win. Do not give them what they want. Fight. Fight for your homes. Fight for your families. Fight for the right to exist in a universe that wants to silence us. The Keth came here expecting easy prey. Let us show them what humanity is truly capable of. He stepped back from the camera. The broadcast ended. For a moment, nothing happened. The control room was silent. Everyone stared at Teho, their expressions unreadable. Then the screens began to change. In cities around the world, people stopped running. They stood up. They looked at the dark ships above them, and instead of fear, their faces showed something else. Determination, anger, hope. Military commanders began coordinating with each other, sharing data and resources. Scientists connected across borders, working together on problems they had never been able to solve alone. Ordinary people formed groups, ready to help however they could. The world was not united perfectly. There was still fear. There was still doubt. But for the first time, humanity was moving in the same direction. Yuna watched the screens with wide eyes. "This is impossible," she murmured. "I have never seen a species rally so quickly." Tejo smiled tiredly. "We have had a lot of practice." He turned to face her. "Now teach me how to win." Yuna met his gaze, and in her ancient starlit eyes, something new appeared. Belief. "Very well," she said. "Let us build a weapon worthy of humanity's spirit." Outside, the Keth waited, confident in their power. They had no idea what was coming. 7 days passed. 7 days of impossible work. Scientists around the world labored without sleep, following plans that Tejo shared from the knowledge Yuna had given him. Engineers built machines that should not have been possible. Soldiers trained with weapons they barely understood. And at the center of it all, Tejo and Yuna worked together on their secret project. A device that could channel energy on a scale that humans had never imagined. "It will not work," Yuna said on the 5th day, doubt in her voice. "The power requirements are too high. Your planet does not have enough energy to fuel this weapon." Tejo looked at the calculations on his screen. She was right. The device needed more power than every nuclear plant on Earth could provide. By every law of physics, it was impossible. But Tejo had learned something in the past week. Humans were good at doing impossible things. "What about electromagnetic energy?" he asked. "Radio waves, television signals, cell phones. Every device on Earth produces electromagnetic output. What if we used all of it?" Yuna frowned. "That energy is scattered, unfocused. It would be like trying to start a fire with starlight. But what if we focused it? What if every transmitter on Earth pointed in the same direction at the same moment?" Yuna was quiet. She ran the calculations in her mind, her silver fingers moving in patterns that Tejo could not follow. Then her eyes widened. "It could work," she whispered. "If every signal on your planet aligned perfectly, even for a few seconds, the combined output would be significant. Significant enough to power the weapon." Yuna met his eyes. "Significant enough to crack a moon?" Tejo smiled. "Then let us crack some Keth ships instead." They worked through the remaining days, coordinating with governments and scientists around the world. Every radio tower, every satellite, every cell phone and television. They all had to transmit at exactly the same moment, aimed at exactly the same point. It was the largest cooperative effort in human history. On the 7th day, the Keth grew impatient. Their ships began to descend toward the cities. Their message repeated, angrier now. "Your time is over. Surrender, Park Tejo, or watch your cities burn." But humanity did not surrender. Tejo stood on a platform at the observatory, the device in front of him. It looked simple. Just a metal frame with crystals inside connected to a network of antennas. But inside those crystals was Valari technology that could reshape reality itself. Yuna stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," Tejo admitted, "but that has never stopped me before." He looked up at the sky. The Keth flagship hung directly above, larger than a mountain, its dark surface pulsing with terrible energy. That was their target around the world. People prepared. Scientists checked their calculations one final time. Engineers tested their equipment. Ordinary citizens held their phones, waiting for the signal. Tejo raised his hand. Now he brought his hand down. Every transmitter on Earth activated at once. The effect was invisible to the naked eye, but Tejo could feel it. A wave of energy rising from every corner of the planet, flowing together like rivers joining into a flood. It poured through the antenna network, focused by the crystals. It's amplified by the Valari technology. And then it struck the Keth flagship. The first impact cracked the ship's shields. The second shattered them completely. The third tore into the hull, ripping through metal and machinery. The flagship began to break apart. Pieces fell away, burning as they entered the atmosphere. Inside, Tejo knew thousands of Keth were dying. He felt no joy at this, only grim satisfaction. The other Keth ships hesitated. They had never seen a weapon like this. They had never faced prey that could fight back. One by one, they began to retreat. But the flagship was not dead yet. As it fell, it fired one final shot. A beam of pure destruction aimed directly at the observatory. Tejo saw it coming. There was no time to run, no time to hide. But Yuna stepped in front of him. She raised her hands, and light exploded from her body. The beam struck her shield and stopped, held back by her will alone. The effort was enormous. Tejo could see her struggling, her silver skin cracking, her starlit eyes flickering. "Yuna," he shouted. "I am fine," she gasped. "But I cannot hold this forever." Tejo looked at the device. It was still humming, still collecting energy from the global network. If he fired again now, with Yuna so close, the blast might kill her too. But if he did nothing, they would both die. He made his choice. He grabbed Yuna's arm and pulled her behind the device, shielding her with his own body. Then he activated the weapon one more time. The energy burst was smaller this time, but it was enough. It struck the falling flagship and pushed it away, sending it tumbling into the ocean miles from the coast. The beam that had been aimed at them dissipated, scattered by the explosion, when the light faded. Tejo and Yuna lay on the ground, battered but alive. The sky was clear. The Keith were gone. For a long moment, everything was quiet. Then, slowly, sound returned. Cheering. From the observatory. From the cities. From everywhere on Earth, humanity had one. Yuna sat up, her silver skin healing itself slowly. She looked at Tejo with wonder. "You shielded me," she said. "You could have died." "So could you?" Tejo replied. "You stepped in front of that beam without hesitation. That is my duty. You are my responsibility." Tejo shook his head. "No. You did it because you cared. The bond works both ways, Yuna. You are my responsibility too." Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then, for the first time, she laughed. It was a strange sound filled with harmonics that no human could produce, but it was beautiful. "Your kind is truly remarkable," she said. "The galaxy will hear of this day. They will know that Earth answered the silence with a roar." Tejo stood up and offered her his hand. She took it, and he helped her to her feet. "Good," he said. "Let them come. We will be ready." They stood together, looking at the sky. The stars were visible now, bright points of light scattered across the darkness. Out there, among those stars, were countless worlds. Some were silenced. Some were waiting. And some, Tejo knew, would hear what humanity had done today. The universe was vast and dangerous. But humanity was no longer afraid. Yuna's hand was still in his. Her silver fingers squeezed gently. "What happens now?" she asked. Te-Ho smiled. "Now we find the other worlds that received the warning. And we tell them what we told the Keth. And what is that?" Tejo looked up at the stars, his eyes full of hope and determination. "That silence is not survival. That fear is not wisdom. That the universe belongs to those brave enough to speak." Yuna smiled back at him. "Yes," she said, "let us begin." And together, they took the first step toward a future that no one had ever imagined. The end was just the beginning.